The summer 2024 anime season has finally come to a close, and with its conclusion, and after watching nearly 50 of its offerings, I'm here to tell you which, in my opinion, are the best of the best. Honestly, the summer season brought us a nice variety of different types of genres and experiences, some of which include the famous author Dazai unisekai's people while seeking to unalive himself, fighting an alien invasion with my excessive drooling. My sister says it's free to touch. Is that legal? You're really doing that in public? In an amusement park? In front of kids? Reincarnated as a meeting table. What, that joke's old now? I gotta make a different joke? God, I wish I was that Ice Cube. There, better. Hot robot thighs. Fucking crows. New ad campaign by bookstores sees massive blowback. Lawrence's self-control is off the chart. Is dating a lolly robot okay as long as she's older than my mom? Don't mess with her strawberry tarto. Gutter cleaning services. Call to book a free estimate today. It's how they heal. Really. It's canon. Hey mom, look what I found. Now that's a new fetish for the books. Failure Frame proves once again that CGI can get worse. And the winner of the biggest dirtbag of summer goes to June. But because your time is precious, I'm here to give you my top 10 anime of the season. As per usual, my list does not include any anime that doesn't conclude in the actual season itself. So titles such as Sengoku Yoko and 2.5 Dimensional Seduction are not included. And yes, also Monogatari series, because who the hell knows how long that's going for. Anyhow, let's get into it. Kicking things off my number 10, we have Reincarnated as a Slime, 3rd season. Yes. Now, fans, calm down. We all know why it's at number 10 and not anywhere higher. Yes, this was the season of meeting tables. Now, I typically don't mind the meetings, especially when it's juicy stuff where they get into the world lore, they get into characters, introduce new concepts and whatnot. But let's face it, yes, season 3 was a lot of just recapping everything that's happened in the previous seasons to new people. And it just got really tiresome after a while. Still, it is in my number 10 list because I still love the characters. I still love the chemistry. I still love the mechanics of the world. I love the world building itself. And yes, everything around Luminous and everything in the first core, I still absolutely loved. And yes, Luminous is my queen, and I will definitely do whatever she wants me to do. It's still a phenomenal series, and I cannot wait for more of it. For my number 9, we have Alya sometimes hides her feelings in Russian. Yes, I came into this season absolutely adoring this franchise. I think the characters, the chemistry, the writing, the comedy, everything is just absolutely on point. Now, you might be wondering, Andrew, that was really high on your list before, and now it's suddenly at number 9. Yes, I will admit, roshidere as a whole, slowly over time, kind of started creeping down in my list, and that was really around the idea that when it doesn't have an episode including characters like Yuki, Masha, Ayano, when it doesn't have those characters as being a focal point and it's more into the actual student council stuff, and yes, unfortunately, Alya, my enjoyment of the series really does kind of plummet a little bit. It's one of those series where when it hits, it is absolutely top notch. There was several episodes of this season that I just adored every single minute of it. But it's unfortunately also one of those series where there's a lot of lulling points. And I feel like a lot of the more core concepts and story bits within it were really kind of barely touched on. But still, with all that said, it is in my top 10 list because, again, I think characters like Yuki and whatnot, the chemistry with certain characters is just absolutely phenomenal. There was so many absolutely laugh out loud moments like Yuki inside of Kuze's bedroom, Masha and the hypnotism, all that kind of stuff is just so freaking awesome. I love this series visually. It looked absolutely beautiful. The character designs were fantastic. I love the smug faces left and right. And I'm super excited that it has another season coming and I cannot wait. For my number 8, I have NieR Automata version 1.1a Part 2. And yeah, by all accounts, it seems like this is the final of the NieR Automata adaptation because it seems like it's concluded. Everybody's telling me, yeah, that was the ending of the game. So unless they decide to pull something new out and go further into something else, this seems like it. And my gosh, Part 2 was absolutely soul-crushing. Yoko Taro, the creator of this series, absolutely destroyed my heart. Just took it out, stepped on it 50 times, and then just gave it back to me, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? What this series does so great is it really does humanize robots. It's the concept of robots themselves trying to learn how to be more like humans, whether they're purposely doing it or they're doing it because they're sort of encouraged by their surroundings. And I think that got even more brutalized in the second part as you see a lot of things such as loss and whatnot that are really affecting the characters, love that's affecting the characters, things like that that are all culminating upon the point in which everything seems to be hitting the fan. One side makes their big epic move and it seems like all is lost. Robots with emotions is usually kind kind of a hit and miss thing for me with a lot of different storytelling. And I think with this one specifically, it really did pull it off. But not only that, but a lot of the world building and a lot of the deeper concepts of the world itself was super fascinating to me. I found it extremely intriguing, and I just cannot wait to actually dive into the video game itself. Plus, on top of that, yes, the show looks freaking gorgeous. It was a really gorgeous show, besides some use of CGI here and there. And yes, robot thighs. Moving on to number 7, the biggest surprise for me in the summer 2024 anime season was easily Days of My Stepsister. This show was so absolutely phenomenal. And this is sort of one of those shows where I kind of want to put higher on my list. It's just after this point, things get really difficult to get any higher because all these shows are fantastic. But no, Days of My Stepsister, the best way that I can put it, and I really don't like to use this term, but I'm going to use it anyways, is really sort of a deconstruction of Wincest. The idea that, yes, there's a group of fandom that love their anime that is about a boy who has a sister who they're in love with, like Yuki earlier with roshidere. But yes, this is of course not blood related. This is a stepsister in the story itself. But why I call it deconstruction is because it kind of takes the concept of two individuals, two now siblings that are kind of married into a family together, now suddenly having to kind of navigate the idea of having an opposite sex within their house. And immediately there's these massive barriers being put up between the two individuals because they have their own bad experiences with the opposite sex. And kind of seeing slowly over time, they start to get comfortable with each other. They start to rely on each other even more, even though initially they said not to rely on each other. But the thing that kind of hit me the most was later on in the series, around the episode 9 point, it kind of just took a turn that I found to be extremely impactful. The depths of the characters themselves and what they kind of go through and how they navigate their new relationship is something I've never really seen anywhere else. It took itself extremely seriously. It handled it very respectfully. And in the end, I was just absolutely blown away by these characters. I highly suggest checking out the series. I will admit that a lot of people are going to find the pacing to be extremely slow, but I found it to be really kind of grounded in reality. It's probably one of the most human portrayal of characters that I've ever seen in anime. Moving on to number 6, we have Spice and Wolf. Yes, you were not going to go this list without seeing Spice and Wolf somewhere in it. I absolutely adore the Spice and Wolf franchise. I have watched the original adaptation. I've read quite a bit of the novels themselves, and I absolutely adored rewatching the series as it restarted with the new adaptation. And yes, I'm extremely thrilled to see that they finally covered what they didn't adapt before with the first adaptation, and yes, already confirming a second season. I really do hope that they continue to adapt this series all the way through because Spice and Wolf goes down as one of the best franchises ever in existence. There's a reason why Holo figures have been selling nonstop for decades. What makes Spice and Wolf so great is multiple things. First, yes, you have the merchant aspect of it. It's a lot to do with trade and how people kind of navigate the markets themselves and how they find the best way that they can overcome the other person and come out on top. But really the other aspect of it, which I think is literally what makes this series so fantastic, is the chemistry between our two main characters, Craft Lawrence and Holo. This is a type of chemistry that you just really can't find anywhere else. The author of this series just absolutely nails the personality of these two characters, how they butt heads, how they find comfort in each other, and how they utilize their own individual skills in order to help them with their trade. Holo has been around for a long time. She's the wise wolf. She can hear people's lies. Craft Lawrence has been a traveling merchant for a long time. The writing, the chemistry, the interactions they have, and the new visuals and the new styles really working out, besides Holo looking like a dog whenever she's a wolf. That aside, throw in some Kevin Pinkin music in there, and everything is really just kind of top-notch for the series, and I cannot wait for more. Moving on to my number 5, I have another massive, massive surprise for me for this season, and that is the magical girl and the evil lieutenant used to be arch enemies. Please go watch this show. It is absolutely beautiful. It is hilarious. It is all around an absolutely fantastic series. Being done by Studio Bones, they made what I would probably call one of the most beautifully directed and portrayed shorts that I've ever really seen. This show just looks gorgeous. Lighting, backdrops of the characters themselves, the comedy points just absolutely hit, the more emotional points just absolutely hit. Everything is so portrayed beautifully. And yes, it's a full adaptation of the original manga, and it never overstays its welcome with any of its episodes or any of its skits. The concept here is the evil lieutenant, who is part of the bad guys, comes in to attack, and he falls head over heels in love with the magical girl. Now the problem is the magical girl herself is being exploited by the angels who made her a magical girl. The angel cat thing that is her mascot is the biggest dirtbag ever. This guy puts this magical girl through the worst stuff, and this evil lieutenant does not like it. But they still enjoy their time together. Every time they come to meet each other, they end up having cake and just discussing everything they're kind of going through. It's a comedy series, so yes, the comedy's not going to hit for everybody, but for me, everything just kind of hit. There was even certain things like Mita always kind of cracking his glasses every time he sees Byakuya do something cute, or the idea of Hibana, the other magical girl, every time she has emotions kind of surge up in her, she cusses. I thought there was going to be a lot of things in this series that was going to kind of get old after a while, but it just seemed to kind of do a good job of kind of refreshing it, introducing new concepts, introducing new characters, and just kind of keeping the flow going. And again, not overstaying its welcome with any of the jokes. I adored this series through and through. Byakuya is absolutely adorable. Again, the visuals are absolutely fantastic, and I absolutely hate the cat. Even though he's really hilarious, I hate the cat so much. Please, please go watch this series. For number 4, I have Dead Demons Destruction. Yes, this series has finally come to a conclusion, and I almost loved every single minute of it. I think this is one of those series that is extremely unique in a lot of ways. What I would basically describe it as is essentially a pre-apocalyptic slice of life. The concept of aliens suddenly showing up, possibly invading, and people just trying to go on with their daily lives. There's no destruction happening. There's no invasion happening. It's just every now and then a spacecraft gets shot out of the sky. And I love that concept here, jumping to the perspective of these kids that are just going to school on a regular basis. Yes, there's a lot of question marks being proposed, like, why are people living underneath this spacecraft? Is it messing with their minds? Are they brainwashed? Why is everybody comfortable with the existence of this spaceship that's just sitting up there? Are the aliens living amongst them? Or you get even deeper with characters like Kodade, who is at this point pretty much questioning, is there even a future for me? By the time I graduate, should I even get a job because the economy is probably going to crash? We'll probably be invaded. We'll probably get zapped out of existence. What's the point in even trying? I love all these concepts. And again, just these little kids just kind of trying to live their lives and just dealing with the tragedies that are happening with this spaceship being there. Visually, I love the style of it, despite the fact that a lot of people don't like the droolies. I think it's fine. A lot of people are bugged by the droolies. I think it's fine. I love the style. It really did capture the manga. It's a great, unique style to it. The characters, the chemistry, the writing, everything was fantastic. The only thing that I really didn't like about this series was everything around the politics and the government and the military. Every single time it jumped scenes away from the actual characters that are trying to live their lives, it just was really, really boring. But other than that, I think it's phenomenal. I cannot wait to actually jump into the manga and read it through again because, again, it's just a super fascinating world. The characters are great, and it's just a really nice and unique experience. Moving on to number 3, we have YATAGARASU, The Raven Does Not Choose Its Master. This series was absolutely legendary. I loved every single minute of it, and I'm really, really saddened that we don't have another season adaptation coming, no announcements. We don't even know what's going to happen with the series because, gosh dang, it just keeps getting better and better every single episode. There's a couple things that make this series so great. One is the writing is absolutely phenomenal. The setting itself is absolutely phenomenal. It's extremely intriguing. There's so many concepts in this world that I just could not get enough of. It's essentially a kingdom of people that are able to turn into ravens. And there's currently a conflict happening in the capital because they have this newly appointed prince that is supposed to take the crown at some point. But there's a little bit of a battle happening between which of the two princes will end up becoming the king. Also on the side, we do have the appearance of 4 different princesses that are all brought to the capital in order for the prince to choose one of them to become their queen. For a while, there's 2 different perspectives. One is the princesses that are in the palace that are waiting for the prince to come and meet them, but he doesn't seem to come by ever. We get a little bit of insight into how the systems work and whatnot through their eyes. At the same time, over here, we have the prince himself, who is currently trying to avoid being assassinated. And yes, one place he thinks he's going to get assassinated is at this palace with those princesses. Over time, we're getting a deeper and deeper look into the palace and the inner workings, who's kind of working behind the scenes in order to take down the prince himself, who the prince is, and how he's this special prince that apparently only shows up whenever the kingdom itself is facing ruin. And then later in the series, we start to kind of expand the world a little bit more as we kind of look into certain cultures outside of their kingdom. Again, it's one of those series that as it goes along, it just keeps getting better and better and better, and it gets deeper, and the concepts of the world itself get deeper. It was truly fascinating. The writing is so phenomenal, and again, like I said before, I'm just waiting for another adaptation. I want more of this series. It was odd to find out that this is one of the books that's actually in the middle of the novel series, and they didn't adapt what was before it or after it, so I'm kind of curious why they chose that specific book. But don't take that as if it's something that requires those, because I came into this completely fresh, and I understood everything that happened in it, and I just want more. Definitely one of those series that's going to be up there in my favorite anime of all time. Moving on to my number 2, we have, yes, Oshinoko second season. My gosh, this series just keeps getting better. Aka Akasaka is an absolute genius. I bow to his genius. He is so friggin' amazing. For those that missed my gushing about the first season, are kind of wondering, hey, what is so special about Oshinoko? Let me tell you. Aka Akasaka is a genius when it comes to the deeper, darker sides of the entertainment industry. He has had a lot of his stuff adapted into different forms, such as light novels and whatnot, so he has a little bit of perspective in the entertainment industry. And based on my knowledge of the entertainment industry, especially in Japan, everything just really kind of clicks for me. Like, yeah, that's exactly how things are going that way. Yep, that's kind of happened before. What it's essentially about is Aqua and Ruby, who are currently joining the entertainment industry. Aqua is secretly trying to find a certain individual who caused a traumatic event in his life in his past, while Ruby is trying to become an idol in order to achieve the goals that her mother wanted to. For this season, we get a lot into things such as script writers and how they can have a lot of conflicts with the actual source material writers, how adaptations can sometimes have certain issues with being adapted in certain types of mediums, and ultimately getting a lot of massive reveals for the overall story, which again is Aqua trying to find a certain individual. I don't want to get into too many details about the series because I want people to come into this completely fresh, just jump right into episode 1 and just start going. But I think the thing that works for this series so well, besides the entertainment industry stuff, is just the psyche of the characters themselves. There's so much stuff that it's getting into, such as PTSD, trauma, the after effects of cyberbullying and stuff like that are all kind of mixed in there. And I think the writer does an incredible job of portraying that stuff. Overall, it's just kind of an onion with so many layers to it that slowly gets peeled away, and it just, every single second, it just kind of reveals something that just completely knocks me out of my chair. And it's gotten to that point where the writing is just so phenomenal that I just fight not to just jump in the manga and just keep reading. I highly suggest Oshinoko. It is just a phenomenal series. Aka Akasaka is a genius. And that all culminates to my number 1. After everything that I gushed about with all the previous shows, what could possibly be above all those? My number 1 is Makeine, Too Many Losing Heroines. This series is absolutely phenomenal. The animation, the characters, the character designs, the chemistry, the writing, everything is just top notch for this series. This is one of those series that from episode 1 just kept getting better with every single episode, and it never, ever let up. It follows a guy who just keeps bumping into all these girls that are, like it says, the losing heroines. The first girl pushes her childhood friend into going after the one that he loves, and thus she's a losing heroine, and thus she gets stuck with watching the man that she loves constantly hanging out and making out with this one other girl. We have Lemon, who waited too long to confess her love to the boy that she likes, just to find out that he's already dating somebody because he thought that he wasn't good enough for her. We have Kamari, who confesses to the one that she loves, but unfortunately, he already loves somebody else. There's multiple things to go with this series. It's a rom-com, but at the same time, it's a rom-com that has a lot of heart to it. Yes, most of the time this series is having a lot of fun with rom-com and rom-com tropes and whatnot, which it handles very well. There's a lot of series that does tropes, but they do tropes for the sake of doing tropes, where this one kind of just does it to kind of make fun of it. But at the same time, like I said before, there's a lot of heart to this series that I think kind of sets it aside from really any other rom-com. Yes, these girls are dealing with heartbreak, and every now and then those heartbreaks come to the surface, and Nukumizu himself kind of has to guide these girls and be there for them and kind of give them comfort in getting over this whole loss that they're dealing with. Which gets me to one thing that makes this series really shine, and that is Nukumizu, the main character. This is a rare case of a main male character who is actually a really good dude. This guy just kind of does exactly what he needs to do in order to support people. No, he's not a fix-all. He doesn't come in there and say like some incredibly courageous things that just blow the mind of the other character and just fixes everything. He's just simply there. And it says a couple things that sort of just kind of reassures the individual. Nukumizu is easily going to go up there as one of my favorite male characters of really most any other series. Again, he's not a fix-all. He's just somebody that doesn't run away all the time. He's not afraid of addressing something, and he does it in a really phenomenal way. Yes, on top of that, this series is beautifully directed. A1 Pictures and the team behind it did a phenomenal job putting this series together. Just a lot of great perspective shots, the animation itself, the visual style itself. We had the character designer that did Liquid Sequoia. They did a fantastic job with the designs of the characters. I love all their designs. Yes, people can have arguments about the four-ribbon style of the school uniforms, but putting that aside, everything just looks really top-notch this series. The comedy just absolutely works. All the punchlines are just well-timed and just absolutely hit every single time. Through and through, I just adored this series. I could not get enough of it, and I really, really hope it gets another season. And that is it. That is my top 10 anime of the summer 2024 anime season. For honorable mentions, I have Wistoria. It just couldn't get up in the top 10 list at all. It couldn't just bump its way up. One of the main reasons because I don't really find really any of the characters likable, but still in the end it was a lot of fun. It was just a fun watch, and yes, the animation was just absolutely incredible. Additionally, No Longer Allowed in Another World was just an absolute surprise for me. I really did like that show. Again, it's about a guy that gets isekai to another world that doesn't want to live because he's Dazai, and Japan loves writing Dazai into being a guy that just wants to end himself. But his secret power is the ability to send the other isekais who are causing troubles back home. I found most of this series to be just a lot of fun, very unique. And yes, like I said before, Monogatari series, but that's still going. I absolutely love the Monogatari series. I cannot wait for more. I just don't know when it's ending. If I knew when it was ending and it was ending this season, it would be up on my list easy because I adore Monogatari series, and Nadeko Draw was just phenomenal. I love Nadeko. But that's it. That's all I'm going to go over. That's in my top 10 list. That's summer. That's a wrap up of summer. I hope you guys enjoyed this top 10 list. As always, if you did, hit that like button down below, comment. Let me know what your top 10 list is of the summer season. I love to hear from you guys. Love to see people's perspectives and their lists. It's just been a great season overall. I was truly surprised at how easy it was for me to throw my top 10 list together. Typically, there's a lot of seasons where it's just kind of difficult to choose what to put in there, but this season just kind of flowed. But of course, if you're new here, make sure to subscribe before you leave so you can get on my content. I will be doing full reviews of all these shows on our podcast itself. Additionally, I did a tier list where I tier listed all the shows this season as well, if you want to check that out. But additionally, I hope that you'll join me for the fall season as we jump in more anime, and I will give you guys first impressions of all those shows as well. But yes, if you like this content and you want to support this channel more, I have links in the description below. Greatly appreciate what it does. And until next time, y'all take care.